Have you ever noticed that some people never get rich because they spend their whole lives thinking like poor people? And the craziest part is that this happens even when someone works hard, studies, puts in the effort, but still stays stuck in the same mental cycle that crushes any chance of growth. Maybe you feel this too. On the outside, you're doing your best, but on the inside, something keeps pulling you back to the same place. Fear of losing, fear of spending, fear of taking risks. It's like living in permanent survival mode, and no one can thrive while stuck in survival mode. That's what you're going to understand in today's video. Stick with me until the end, because I'm going to show you the first real step to thinking, acting, and seeing the world like someone who's growing, even before you get rich. 1. Change your mental software from scarcity to abundance. Think about it. Most people grow up hearing that money is fragile, limited, almost like a wild animal that runs away if you don't hold on tight. That's the scarcity software that controls a lot of people, a mental pattern that turns every expense into fear. But here's the key. Millionaires don't treat money that way. They see money as a tool, not a goal. And when you shift that perspective, your relationship with opportunities starts to change too. A wealthy mindset sees money as energy in motion. You invest it into something that creates value, get a multiplied return, reinvest it, and expand. Meanwhile, those stuck in scarcity think, if I spend it, it's gone. But that fear paralyzes, and fear doesn't build prosperity. When you understand that money is a means, not your identity, you stop acting like someone trying to survive and start acting like someone building something. Let's make this tangible. Grab a piece of paper today and write down your negative beliefs about money. Be brutally honest. I don't deserve to earn more. Money is hard. I'm bad with finances. Then turn each one into a neutral or positive statement, something that doesn't lie to you but retrains your thinking. And for 30 days, read them out loud. It might sound simple, but cognitive psychology studies show that targeted repetition truly rewires your mental patterns. This exercise does something powerful. It turns off your emotional autopilot. Because when you speak a new narrative every day, your brain starts filtering the world through that narrative. Neuroscientists at the University of Michigan show that your attention system looks for evidence of what you believe about yourself. In other words, belief creates focus, and focus creates behavior. In the end, your brain works to support the identity you choose. And that's where abundance comes in. When you start thinking in terms of expansion instead of protection, your mind opens up to new possibilities. You take more risks, create more, ask more questions, try more things. Wealthy people don't wait for the perfect scenario. They build it. The abundance mindset isn't naive optimism. It's about taking responsibility for how you see and respond to life. At the core, this shift is what separates those who stay stuck from those who start building real wealth. It's not about magic. It's about mental clarity. It's about finally getting out of survival mode and into creation mode. The abundance mindset puts you in the driver's seat, not just a passenger in your financial life. This is the first step to everything that comes next, including starting to live like someone who's already growing. 2. Focus on creating value and income, not just saving. Most people grow up hearing that the key to prosperity is saving every penny, like wealth is a game of avoiding losses. But here's the contrast. Financial behavior studies show that people who actually get wealthy focus less on cutting costs and more on creating opportunities, increasing income, and delivering real value in the market. People who build wealth think in terms of scale, impact, and solutions, not just surviving on the edge. They know no one saves their way to financial freedom. You build your way there. There's a pattern that shows up consistently among successful people in the US. They treat income as a skill, not something that just happens. A study conducted by researchers across Asian and North American markets analyzed the habits of high-income professionals and found that they invest time developing activities that multiply their long-term value: entrepreneurship, creating products, improving processes, leading projects. Meanwhile, people who stay stuck at the same income level often spend their lives focused on cutting expenses. Now think about something simple and practical. What skill do you have that could become a value machine? It could be editing, writing, marketing, consulting, design, customer service, programming, fitness, cooking, anything people are already willing to pay for. Pick one and dedicate at least 1 hour a day to deep development of that skill. 1 hour a day may seem small on the calendar, but it's huge for your identity. After a few weeks, you won't just be technically better. You'll start thinking like someone who creates value, not someone just trying to get by. Here's a powerful psychological detail. When you focus on creating value, your mind shifts into expansion mode, not scarcity mode. You stop thinking, what can I save? And start asking, what can I build? That changes everything. People in scarcity try to protect what they have. People in abundance create new sources. This mental shift boosts courage, creativity, and openness to opportunities. Exactly the kind of mindset that drives financial growth. But there's a silent trap, chasing immediate results. A lot of people start a project, publish something, learn a skill, launch a service, and a week later they're asking, is this going to pay off yet? That kind of thinking sabotages half of the world's talented people. High performers understand that real income is compounded, like investments. It starts slow, gains momentum with consistency, and becomes exponential over time. They don't measure value by the first month's return. They look at the long-term curve they're building. When you internalize this, the game changes. You stop acting like someone waiting for a quick reward and start operating like someone building long-term wealth. And that mindset, calm, logical, purpose-driven, puts you on the same mental frequency as people who truly prosper. It's not just about earning more money. It's about becoming someone the market respects, trusts, and rewards. 3. Cultivate discipline, emotional control, and consistent habits. There's a truth most people don't like to admit. Wealth doesn't just depend on intelligence or talent. It depends on emotional stability. International personality research shows that individuals with greater net worth tend to exhibit organization, responsibility, and low impulsiveness. They don't make decisions in the heat of the moment. They make them based on logic. And that creates a huge advantage. While most people react, they choose. While many panic, they stay clear-headed. Money always flows to those who can think calmly when others are losing control. One thing many people underestimate is how small habits shape your financial identity. If you review your finances weekly, consistently read about money, or surround yourself with people who raise your ambition, you're creating a mental environment for growth. It's like sharpening a blade every day. You don't see the immediate impact, but when a high-pressure moment comes, you're ready. The elite don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. And systems always outperform unchecked emotions. Here's something worth gold. Discipline isn't rigidity, it's strategic self-control. Many people confuse discipline with suffering, but in reality, it's a way to reduce uncertainty. When you organize your daily decisions, spending, deadlines, goals, preparation, you reduce mental chaos. That increases your sense of internal power and lowers the risk of impulsive mistakes. That kind of stability is exactly what separates an amateur from someone who progresses consistently. Behavioral psychology shows that when you repeat anchor habits, your brain starts to interpret that pattern as who you are. That changes how you act naturally. That's why choosing 2 or 3 habits that support your growth and sticking with them even when nothing feels urgent is one of the most strategic decisions you can make. This is how you build reputation, resilience, and financial predictability. Now think about the opposite. Living in reaction to your mood, impulses, or outside pressure. That makes you vulnerable. It's the kind of instability that ruins careers, destroys opportunities, and drives away great connections. Emotionally unstable people spend more, invest worse, and self-sabotage far more often. It's not a lack of potential. It's a lack of internal control. Those who master their emotional state master their results. Discipline is the invisible foundation of prosperity. It doesn't show up in photos, it doesn't go viral, it doesn't get applause, but it literally changes everything. When you control your routines, emotions, and decisions, you build your life like an engineer, not like someone waiting for luck to knock on the door. And that's exactly what allows you to move forward with focus, clarity, and strength, even when the world is chaotic. 4. Think long-term. A 5 to 10 year vision, not month to month. The average mindset lives in survival mode. How do I make it to the end of the month? But people who build real wealth operate on a different timeline. They think about assets, equity, time, reinvestment. They understand that financial life isn't solved with quick tricks, but with decisions that compound over the years. This 5, 10, or even 20-year vision reduces anxiety, increases clarity, and creates a sense of direction most people never experience. Long-term thinkers don't just earn more, they make better decisions. Now here's something almost no one does. Create a 10-year plan. A roadmap that defines financial goals, career milestones, investments, skills, and even the type of person you want to become. Doing this forces you to choose real priorities. It makes you see what truly matters on the horizon, not just what's on fire today. And when you break that plan into yearly milestones, everything feels lighter. 10 years might seem far off, but 1 year? 1 year is completely manageable. This kind of planning has a massive psychological impact. It reduces impulsiveness. When you know where you're going, every choice runs through a natural filter. Does this bring me closer or push me further from my vision? That simple question eliminates 80% of the emotional decisions that make people lose their way. Behavioral science shows that when you mentally project yourself into the future, your brain activates long-term self-preservation mechanisms. You literally start acting like someone with something to lose. Most people are trapped in instant gratification because they can't see the future clearly. Without vision, every short-term desire seems reasonable. But when you build a long-term perspective, the impulse loses its power. You don't buy out of anxiety, you buy strategically. You don't say yes to opportunities out of fear, you say yes because they align. Vision protects you from yourself, and that's one of the smartest ways to move forward. But thinking long-term isn't about blind optimism. It's about taking responsibility. It means accepting that building something takes time, that results won't show up in 2 days, and that the wealth game is a marathon, not a sprint. And that understanding brings peace. Because when you grasp the nature of the process, you don't panic every time things don't move as fast as you'd like. You keep moving forward with focus and composure. This 5 to 10 year vision turns you into someone the market respects. Because people who think this way are rare, stable, and consistent. They move with purpose, make better choices, and handle chaos more easily. When you start acting like someone who already has wealth, you attract opportunities at that level. The long-term mindset doesn't just improve your financial life, it transforms your identity. 5. See money as a tool, not as status or emotional security. Most people grow up believing that money defines personal worth. And that's one of the most toxic psychological traps of modern life. When you use money as a symbol of status, every purchase becomes a performance, and every bank balance becomes a measure of self-esteem. But here's how the truly wealthy think. For people who genuinely prosper, money isn't identity. It's a tool. It's freedom, it's choice, it's leverage. And that completely changes the way you decide, invest, and live. The problem with tying money to emotion is simple. You lose logic. People who use money to feel important spend more, compare more, and live on emotional autopilot. People with a wealthy mindset, on the other hand, use money as a strategic tool. Before every purchase, they ask, Does this bring me closer to my future or just feed a temporary desire? It's a simple question, but it creates instant clarity. It puts you in responsibility mode, not impulsive mode. Here's a practical habit that can change your life. Pause for 3 seconds before any purchase. 3 seconds to ask whether that purchase aligns with your long-term vision. Neuropsychologists call this a cycle interruption, and it literally reduces impulsive responses. When you do this, you replace emotion with intention. It may seem like a small thing, but that brief pause can save you years of regret and thousands of dollars that would have been spent trying to fill emotional gaps, not real needs. Detaching self-worth from your bank balance has another benefit. You stop competing with the world. Most people get caught up in social comparison because they're trying to prove something, not because they truly need something. And comparison is an endless game. There will always be someone with something bigger, better, or newer. People with a rich mindset don't play that game because they understand that money doesn't buy identity. It only amplifies who you already are. When you feel secure inside, your money works for you, not for your ego. This shift also improves your financial decisions. When you're not using money to look good, you free up energy to use it to grow well. You invest more, prepare more, learn more, take more strategic risks. You stop buying symbols and start buying freedom. You stop spending to impress and start spending to build. And this not only increases your net worth, it increases your sense of inner power because you realize you control your life instead of being controlled by consumption. In the end, seeing money as a tool is an act of emotional maturity. It means taking the wheel, letting go of the need for approval, and starting to play the game of logic, not validation. Money can amplify your life, but only if you stop using it as an emotional shield. When you separate ego from finances, you finally start building sustainable wealth, the kind that grows, multiplies, and sets you free. 6. Surround yourself with people and environments that elevate your ambition. There's a quiet pattern among people who truly prosper. They don't grow alone. They grow by staying anchored in environments that foster big thinking, discipline, and ambition. Studies on high-performance networks show that behaviors, beliefs, and even financial expectations are deeply shaped by the people you surround yourself with. In other words, your mindset is contagious, for better or for worse. And that's exactly why people who build wealth choose their circle strategically, not by chance. The problem is that most people still surround themselves with others who reinforce limits, not possibilities. People who complain, criticize, minimize, and doubt, not because they're bad, but because they operate within what they know. But you don't grow by maintaining the environment that shaped you. You grow by shifting to an environment that expands you. That means connecting with people who think big, who build, who challenge themselves, who aren't afraid to talk about goals, careers, money, and the future. Your environment either lifts you up or drags you down. Here's the practical part. Put yourself in growth environments, even if at first you feel out of place. Join groups, courses, entrepreneurial communities, learning forums, professional events. Participate actively, ask questions, connect with people playing a bigger game than you. The culture of the environment seeps into you without asking permission, and that kind of positive exposure is one of the strongest engines of change. People who think big lift you up without even realizing it. And here's another key point. The more you talk to ambitious people, the more normal ambition becomes. It stops being something for other people and becomes an internal reference point. Your brain starts recalibrating what it sees as possible. This lowers fear, boosts self-confidence, and helps you make decisions that once seemed too bold. That's why entrepreneurial environments are so transformational. They change the mental standard that guides your daily choices. Real stories prove this every day. People who grew up in ordinary contexts, without money, without connections, without privilege, but who completely changed their trajectory by stepping into entrepreneurial environments. This happens because belonging influences behavior, When you see yourself surrounded by people who create, take risks, and evolve, you naturally start acting the same way. Your identity adapts to the new standard. In the end, this is one of the most powerful laws of prosperity. You don't win alone. You win with influence, reference, inspiration, and alignment. When you choose environments that expand your mental framework, everything accelerates. Your vision, your courage, your ability to execute. Growth becomes lighter, faster, and more natural. Because no one climbs while dragging anchors, you rise by walking with people who want to climb too. 7. Embrace calculated risk and imperfection as part of the process. Most people seek absolute safety, as if life had a protected mode where nothing can go wrong. But there's no success in that zone. People who truly grow understand that calculated risk is part of the game, not an enemy to be avoided. They don't take blind risks, they take smart ones, with logic, analysis, and intention. And this difference between avoiding risk and managing it is exactly what separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck. The average mindset fears the unknown. The wealthy mindset uses uncertainty as fuel for growth. Fear of risk comes from the need for perfection. Many people wait for the ideal moment, the perfect idea, the flawless plan. But none of that exists, and the longer you wait, the more you lose timing, energy, and opportunity. High performers understand that projects begin imperfect and take shape through action. They'd rather fail fast than never try. Because those who stay paralyzed, trying to predict every detail, end up stuck in theory, while those who act learn in the real world, where money and opportunity actually exist. To turn this into practice, choose a small risk experiment, a course, a side hustle, a service, a pitch, a symbolic investment. Something with potential impact, but that won't destroy you if it fails. Treat it as a learning experience, not as a test of your worth. Behavioral psychology calls this progressive exposure, and it reduces fear by showing you, in real life, that you can handle uncertainty. This kind of experiment builds real confidence, not the kind imagined in your head. Calculated risk expands your comfort zone because it teaches your brain how to deal with uncertainty without panic. Every step creates a new level of tolerance. First, you try something small, then something a bit bigger. And before you know it, what once felt scary becomes normal. This is the opposite of what most people do. They wait for courage before acting. Wealth-minded people act in order to create courage. Movement builds confidence, not the other way around. What few realize is that avoiding risk is also a risk, just a silent one. The risk of staying stuck. The risk of watching life pass by while holding back your own potential. The risk of never discovering what you're truly capable of. That destroys more dreams than any failed attempt ever could. And that's the point. Temporary failure doesn't limit you. Stagnation does. Failing teaches, expands, recalibrates. Standing still keeps you stuck in a version of yourself that no longer matches who you want to become. In the end, embracing imperfection and calculated risk is what transforms intention into real progress. This mindset makes you lighter, more adaptable, and far more prepared for opportunities that demand speed and courage. That's how you grow, not by being perfect, but by being functional. Not by being flawless, but by being consistent. Ultimately, wealth rewards those who try more often, with more intelligence and less ego. When you stop waiting for the perfect scenario and start acting with strategic boldness, you finally enter the game where real growth happens.